Hi, it's Nicole, and I'm back again with more Our Story Matters inspiration. I've got a second layout today. This is the March release from Traci Reed Designs, and it will be linked below in the description box of the video. I showed a quick sketch that is free online. It's actually one side of a double page sketch, and then I showed my layout from yesterday. I wanted to show that just to kind of quickly touch on. I thought it was so funny that when I was planning, I tend to work like two layouts at a time when I'm doing printable stuff. It just works out for my process a little bit better. And when I was planning different things out, I noticed that the one from yesterday, which I'll link above, has a lot of discussion in it about common design elements that I personally like. And so I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the sketch that I had pulled mostly for this like photo arrangement here ended up being really similar. So it's probably why like it caught my eye. I am going to change some things up, but I felt like, you know what, let's just continue to talk about reusing design elements that work, reusing, page designs. If it works, change it up a tiny bit and just keep using it is kind of my method. Sometimes I just need like quick designs. And I think that's why I'm drawn to these styles where, you're getting a lot of photos on a single page layout. And then you've got the open area across from your photos to really just go ham with embellishments, title, journaling, and kind of balance everything out. So I am going to switch this. The sketch had the photos over on the left, so kind of more like my layout from yesterday. I'm actually going to move it over to the right. I felt like just the way that my photos were oriented, it made more sense to have it over here, especially with the selfie right there of one of our faces is cut off. When Traci dropped the sneaks for this collection, I was so excited because there's a local crop that I go to, and the owner always decorates with like teals and pinks and a lot of the colors, and just the overall vibe of Our Story Matters just was screaming like this local crop. So I went through my photos, found a year that I'm pretty sure I haven't done these photos. I am desperate to have some time in my schedule to go through and mark off layouts that I've made, and kind of I really just need to get those like loosely thrown onto my very not uber fancy spreadsheet that I keep that just kind of tells me what I think I want to do with photos and if I've already done them. Now, I did not do my journaling strip hack with the sentiment die from Hero Arts. I'll link you guys to the video here. I will sometimes just throw my journaling on like extra space when I'm printing. So like the multicolored polka dot paper, I only needed that little like 3 to 4 inch amount of it. So when I'm printing paper in Photoshop Elements, I will just drop it onto a letter sized canvas, scoot it over to the side, and then that open area, I'll drop like a journaling card. I'll type out like a text box with journaling if I just want like empty journaling strips. If there's a couple extra like tags, phrases, anything that I feel like, you know what, let's just go ahead and print this out together. That is kind of how the journaling ended up being like this. If I have more journaling for like a couple layouts is typically when I will pull up my template and type it that way. I did a quick look through of all the different like phrases and title pieces in this collection, and there's so many good ones, but I really needed something that was going to be a little bit more specific to my photos. Like I always like to have my titles say that it's the scrap room crop or something along those lines. So I printed off another of my favorite patterns from this one. It's this like dark coral with like a thin white plaid on it. The B-sides, I swear, I can't get enough of them. So I printed off a 6x6 version of this pattern paper because I wanted the scale to be smaller so that it's still visible when I die cut letters. These are my Dickers that I love. I've got a dedicated video to these, and it's basically just stacking die cuts together. I use the scraps from other things that I've printed during the process of these two layouts to cut out two layers and then the pattern paper on the top. And then I like to use old silhouette mats that I cut up. I tend to keep one in my MISTI to hold things, and then the leftovers I cut into just small pieces to do kind of detail work like this. It's just tacky enough to hold it down and keep my fingers out of the glue, and then I will use like a jewel picker, tweezers, kind of anything like that to put these layers down. And I just went through my alphabet dies and picked one that I felt like went with it. I think I went with this one probably just because it is a good basic font, but it's also a typewriter font. And there's a lot of typewriter icons in this collection. So I was like, you know what, this is like matchy. Let's go with this. Same thing like the previous layout. I took the pattern paper that has that rainbow like film strip and cut out individual strips. This one was just long enough to actually cover that entire thing, and I left the angled ends. I thought that was a fun kind of detail to leave. And then I'm just trying to figure out, where do I want to kind of fit all of this in? I want to have a bunch of just fun, chaotic elements going down that left side. I want it to sort of be like the messy table at the crop. And I'm going to sprinkle in my journaling and then find a place to tuck the letters that I've die cut for my title. With the letters for my title being much larger than the journaling pieces and any of the other embellishments that I want to add, I want to make sure that I put this down first. And so I decided to use the bottom edge of this photo here as a guide to place my letters. I am going to rip this one up. I realized quickly that I was lining it up with the like foot of the P, not like where the P would rest on a line. I got really lucky and was able to pull that up. Yesterday's video, I talked about sometimes people hesitate using these hybrid collections and printing them at home. And I talked a lot about how I just pick the things that I like and I treat them like I would a regularly manufactured collection. The only caveat to that is I will say be really careful with adhesive and your placement. I try to remember to not really push down on foam adhesive until I'm absolutely sure of placement. Just because this is printed at home, the cardstock is a little bit different. There's ink on the surface of the paper. So I tend to be careful because if I go to move something, it's not going to pull up as nicely as it would with like a manufactured paper. This could vary depending on the cardstock that you print with. I personally like the hammer mill with the little chameleon on the front. It's linked in my Amazon section. I have an Amazon storefront where I put my printer that I scream from my little soapbox any chance I can. I freaking love that thing. The papers that I use, the ink refills, all of that stuff I keep linked there because it comes up a lot in different like Facebook conversations, comments on my videos and stuff. So all that to say, be careful, because like here I was like, oh, I don't like where I've placed the word annual. I got really lucky. I think I only tore one little tiny area and you can't really see it. And I was like, you know what? More than likely this will get covered up by a journaling strip or a floral or something along those lines. So I wasn't super concerned with it. I also print my photos at home and those are usually a little bit more tacky when it comes to adhesive as well. So if something gets put on a photo, it's there. There is no moving it. It like that's its home forever, which, I mean, pros and cons to that. Pro, my stuff's not going to pop off, so that's kind of nice. From there, I did break up my journaling. I had like a couple different sentences. So I placed one closer to the title and basically used, like, you can see those kind of visual breaks in the embellishments that I've already put down in the left like column. So I'm going to use those visual breaks to stack my journaling in those places. And then once I get the journaling placed, I can come back in and add more like embellishments and more details and stuff like that. It was around this time where I was doubting myself because I was like, nope, we're not going to stitch on this one. Put the needle down, take a break, cleanse the palette, kind of a thing. Once I finished the layout, I was still having the feeling of like, man, I really wish I had stitched it. So I didn't film any part of that. I actually took my stuff downstairs and did it later. I ended up just doing a white tone on tone frame all the way around, and to me it just really gave it like that finishing element. I enjoy the process of stitching. If you don't, by all means, don't do it. I think this could have been really cute with like where you take like a pen and do like the faux stitching. Personally, I just like the relaxing, repetitive nature of actually doing the stitching, so that's what I lean into. I am going to add a little cluster over here on the right side just to kind of help balance out all that stuff on the left. And I did remember to date my layout. I keep saying like I think I'm good about dating layouts, and then I go to clean up my room and put stuff away and there's no date on the layouts, and I'm like, I had convinced myself that I was better at this. So it's sort of in the back of my mind that I'm like, date the layout while you're still filming, and then you can say that you were good about it. So I tend to leave my Photoshop open with the photos that I've printed until I'm done with the layout, just in case I need to reprint something. And then the nice thing about it, with like these being phone photos, the file name is the date, so I can just quickly go and look at Photoshop real quick, grab the date, and go ahead and add that. So here you can see the stitching that I added. I think it just kind of was the period to the sentence and finished up the details. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Be sure to check out the collection linked in the description box below. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to join me. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this, and I will catch you guys with a couple videos this week.